Hello everybody, welcome to another daily dose of your gaming news and all that good stuff. And before you start, don't forget, I also post on Rumble and I'm all in these places here. Just check it out if you are available to do so. So let's get started with more GPU news. There's been a lot of leaks regarding the 4060 series, the TI, non-TI, the 4050, and even not much so much the 4070. I think it's coming in 1 week or so, give or take. But there has been a leak with the packaging template for the 4060 Ti. But there's not much to tell. There is some leaks and rumors regarding pricing. I will not cover this for today because it's been all over the place, the pricing in terms of the leak and rumor informations. I prefer to wait until we have like a more, I don't know, certainty on that thing. But yeah, this this generation of the RTX 40 series is going to be a bust, mainly because it's what I've been telling in the past few videos. I reaching the conclusion and almost like the certainty that they just trying to sell you GPUs, at least from NVIDIA part. It's a certainty that they are just selling you GPUs that are basically in the limit of being good enough, and then they put you on the hook with their technologies, mostly DLSS and frame generation. We're going to have some items here that are going to explain why there is this kind of thing, because we've been seeing a lot of issues. For example, the 4070 Ti regarding, for example, the Resident Evil 4 remake. If you're trying to push a little bit more, for example, on RTX or something like that, the memory bus, the memory quantity of VRAM and also the bus cannot handle the games. It's a stuttering mess. Hogwarts Legacy, the same thing. And it's in case, okay, it's basically also from the game itself, the fact that Resident Evil and also The Last of Us, I will speak in the next one, they are not very well optimized. In certain aspects, even though Resident Evil 4 it's very well can be very it plays decent enough, but still some patches here and there might fine-tune some performance issues, mainly regarding textures. But if they had, for example, in this case, the 4070 Ti, if it has like the memory bus was a bit larger, and for the performance that supposedly goes for the 70 Ti, at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, we shouldn't have this being this kind of issues with performance, even if the port is bad, because it's very limiting. And I've been telling you that upcoming games, especially with Unreal Engine 5, a lot of it is Resident Evil, sorry, the Unreal Engine 5 has kind of their ray tracing software encoding, which is, I'm not sure if it's Lumen or something like that. They are more, they push more the hardware itself to a certain degree if you want to have like that extra quality. And the fact that, for example, older engines that we've been seeing a lot with the RTX implementation, that technology, for example, even starting with the Witcher 3, other games that I've been talking about in this episode, there also, for example, Cyberpunk, it's an older engine. We got, for example, from even Assassin's Creed, we got kind of implementation of with the Resident Evil 4. It's the RE engine, which is older. It's from at least 3 or 4 years ago. So if it is not an engine that it was created basically in the last year, 2 years, basically when the RTX came, the ray tracing came in force. It's the implementation in all the games is going to be very finicky in all the games they're going to see. And I think the only one that at the moment seems to be better implemented is Unreal Engine 5, because even Unreal Engine 4 we had, like, for example, Callisto Protocol and other games that came out. When you start trying to get RTX implementation, the game just it's a mess. And I think that with the fact that DirectX 12, which is the API that supports basically the RTX, the implementation of all the engines is going to be very finicky. We're going to continue to see throughout at least these next 2 years all the games that are being on the works for at least 2-3 years, and they will launch in these 2 years time frame. We're going to see all of this thing happening all over again. And the fact that the GPUs, at least from NVIDIA part, this series is not the best one. They don't have like the memory bus and the memory quantity to handle more heavy workloads regarding gaming. We're going to continue to see a lot of this stuff. AMD, I think, will handle better, even though I think their drivers could be fine-tuned to get a little bit more extra performance. Even though, for example, their memory is not this GDDR6X, it's a non-X. The memory bus is way wider. Usually the 7900 XT, I think it's like the double of the 4070 Ti, and then the XTX is even a little bit more. They can handle better, for example, rasterization, but I think it's way better. Rasterized performance it's the true performance per se, because when you start inputting FSRs and DLSS, so upscaling technology and ray tracing technology, you just especially the DLSS and FSR, you're just artificially trying to bump up the quality of a thing, so it doesn't depend on the hardware itself. It depends more on the technology, which is the software, and that on itself will put some pressure on hardware. Usually it's not the GPU, usually it's on the CPU. So there is a lot of stuff going around. It's one of the main things I want to make, like kind of some deep dives. That's why I need some editing rig and everything. That's why I usually end up my my videos with my Go Get Fund Me campaign. But yeah, at the moment, we'll wait and see how it goes. Regarding, I'm more worried about pricing, because any product is good depending on the price when they launch. That's why I don't advise, and I always tell people to wait. To wait for this 40 series and even for the AMD ones to lower their prices, because it's completely horrible. Unless you really need and you don't have an option to wait, just then I prefer at the moment. I advise better the AMD ones, the new ones, or even like the 6000 series is preferable than buying NVIDIA, mainly because I think they will mature better than the NVIDIA stuff. But yeah, now regarding games and their performance, The Last of Us PC port it's a disaster. I didn't see the videos, but it's crashing all over the place. A lot of stuttering, a lot of I don't know. It's a complete mess. In some places here you have like 4090. 13900 with 100% CPU usage, which is unheard of. This is like the last one that launched. It's not optimized. It's just all over the place. It's a mess, the port. I think they launched a patch, but it didn't basically resolve anything. As you can see, long shader timings, memory leak issues, because if you try to bump up graphics and everything, then the textures and everything, they will leak to the memory system, and then that will introduce stutters and a lot of issues, and then that can cause crashes, because if the timings of the memory of the RAM trying to input information again through the CPU, then to the GPU, so it can be displayed, if there is like something that is not working properly, the game will crash. A lot of that stuff happening here. They will need to take their time. I don't know why they don't optimize the freaking games before they launch the games. They have time, and then they just put everybody on hold, like at least 2 to 3 months, until they manage to put the game in a playable state. But yeah, and also Resident Evil 4 for the PC. There are some mods here. here and there that I think they solved a little bit on some issues, but in this case it's more about like the RTX things and the anti-aliasing things. But overall I think it's way more playable. I think I managed to speak this regarding ray tracing thing. If your GPU doesn't have enough VRAM, it will start crashing around. That's an issue, of course. But if you turn off RTX, I think it can play very well. It has a lot of memory requirements in terms of VRAM for the GPU, so you might need to turn down a little bit on the textures, or reduce the resolution, or use the FSR, or in this case the mod. It introduces the implementation of DLSS, which by all intents and purposes seems better at FSR, because I think DLSS to a certain point is way better in FSR at this moment in time. So we'll see how it goes. In other news, I think a little bit better ones. Hunt Showdown. I've been following this game on and off. It seems a pretty good game. They will introduce like a huge update now. This is like the player versus environment stuff. It's like I think the environment is about the like the boss level, but then you have like the PvP side of it. If it's almost like the Dark Zone of the other game. I forgot about the name of the game, but it's you can hunt in with other players the boss of the level, but then you can betray yourself or betray other players to get the loot. I think it's very interesting, and it's from this is from Crytek, Crytek, which it's the Crysis guys that launched that game a lot of years ago. But I think it might worth to watch if you are interested in this kind of games. It's like a first-person shooter kind of game, at least but the mechanics are seem very interesting. Continuing with poor implementation, DLSS 3 on Forza Horizon 5. I think it's a mess also. And what I've been talking about, the DLSS 3, the fact that you have like frame generations, which is basically fake frames. It introduces input lag, and especially in these kind of games, like fast games, like a racing game. It's what I told like a few weeks ago. I don't think this is going to work very well on racing games, and we have the proof here to a certain extent, which is basically it's even though you have more frames on the screen, the game feels worse because you have input latency there on if you're trying to steer, accelerate, brake, trying to make cornerings. If you don't have like the input, if the latency is more than it should be, you feel like the game is clunky even though you have more frames on the screen. Doesn't feel fluid. It's kind of for people that experiment this kind of situation, it's more it's about the feel more and not what you are seeing on screen. So there is something that it's not reflected on the screen, and this is caused by the fact that you have to put fake frames on the screen just to look prettier. If you can look at the screen, but if you are playing it, you feel the game completely janky, and you press a button, then you feel that you didn't press the button, and then ruins the gameplay itself. I don't think they will solve this entirely, because when you introduce these kind of things, you always introduce latency, and this in this kind of especially in racing games or very quick games, even like first-person shooters, the latency introduced, you're always going to notice. Even if you're not very sensible to this, you're always going to notice. And even though they have DLSS 3, the difference is not that much for what's supposed to do, which is almost like double the frames. But yeah, it's a mess. The introduction of the frame generation thing here on in this case on Forza Horizon 5, but they launched a new DLC, but you can turn DLSS off. So it's another way to go around something you are already paying, and the things are not working. And another sadly news, Atlas Fallen, which is like an upcoming game, is been delayed to August. Supposedly it was coming to next month or so. I'm not sure. Yeah, month, May of 16. They delayed it to August 10. I just hope that the game is decent. We didn't see a lot of gameplay. We just saw some snippets here and there on some trailers. We didn't see any like gameplay showcase or something like that. So I'm not sure how this game seems to be per se. But yeah, another delay. I hope that at least they just freaking optimize the game when it's launched. And lastly, we got Summer Games Fest. It's coming June 8th, so it's like a few days before E3. I think E3 is a bust now for this year because almost all the major players that usually go there, they just bailed out. The last one was Ubisoft. They are going to do all, if they do like a presential one, they will do it before the E3. The rest, I think they're going to do the things, the virtual stuff that I've been doing for some years now. But here we have Summer Games Fest. I think it's from Jeff Cavely, which is the one of the last one, the Game Awards. I think it's the same guy. And supposedly we're going to have possibly some reveals here and there. This is the place when the Elden Ring release date was announced in this Summer Game Fest. Few years ago. The Midnight Suns was also announced in this one. We'll see how it goes. I will try to keep up. It's still a few months away, but I will try to keep up with all the information when this comes and give you my highlights on the Summer Games Fest. And we're going to wrap up here with some gaming deals. Not much happening because the spring sales basically are over. But we still have like good games at lower prices. We got the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition, $15, which is good, very good. Just buy it and play it. I think the first and the second one also. I think I made it this like 2 days ago for the Witcher series. And also on GOG we have Cyberpunk 2077, 50% off. Always good. Supposedly the new DLC will like in 1 month or 2, I think. Yeah, I think it's like in 1 month or 2 or something like that. I will cover when it comes out. And lastly we got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the first one. It's 90% off still. 9 hours on the date of the recording, so during this day we should have you can still buy it 90% off. And also Sekiro Shadows Die Twice GOT Edition, also 9 hours, 50% off. Very excellent game for all that I saw in the reviews. It's from software, so it's always a good game for sure. And I'm going to wrap up for today with my GoGetFundMe for me to upgrade my PC to get better, more content for my private clients, and of course in my free spare time, doing the daily videos with a better quality, starting to getting my scripted content for me to edit a lot of stuff and to do like deep dives. For example, I want to do like some deep dives regarding, for example, RTX technology and how this can be affecting the gaming market. All this kind of interesting stuff that I need to write and edit a lot of stuff, and I don't have the PC to do this at the moment. And of course resuming my gameplay series and possibly in the future some streams. And all as I said, guys, I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. Till then, Kunamy Master out.